Hi guys, Jordan from B&B Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your Lunar Roadstar. It's a Roadstar 786, which is one of the large models they made, based on a 3-litre turbo diesel Fiat Ducato. So, start under the bonnet. Over on the left-hand side, we've got your washer fluid at the top, power steering fluid in this reservoir just here below it, and your engine coolant. So that's why it's a nice sort of pink colour. And the engine's cold at the moment, and we're just there at the perfect level, just underneath the maximum line. Brake fluid in this reservoir at the top, attached to the servo just behind it. Your engine oil gets topped up through this cap just here at the top, and your engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just there. These are some part numbers for the air conditioning and bits and pieces like that. Your white paint code, so anything on the cab and the same all the way through to the back as well, is Fiat 249 white, and that's what it tells you just there. And your chassis plate for the vehicle is this one just here. There may or may not be another one somewhere to give you an updated version. If there's not, and this is the original chassis plate just here. Being on the after 2007 chassis, you've got the engine battery itself sits under the floor in the cab, so just in front of the passenger seat. And so if you wanted to jump start the vehicle, you've got a positive terminal for the engine battery here underneath this little cap, and an earthing point or a negative terminal just here, which will then start your engine up with any kind of jump pack. If you needed to do that, I'll just pop this little, there you go. So that is that under the bonnet. The diesel filling point is just inside this little flap just here, and you will need the ignition key to get that open. Inside the passenger door, the bonnet release handle is just inside there, so you pull on this to release the bonnet. You can raise and lower the seats from these two little handles just here on the side of the seats, as and when you need to. And under this little floor piece just here is the bit that I was talking about, so that's where the engine battery sits, just under there. I'll go through the rest of the cab with you when we get around to the other side. So this big locker just here is the gas locker. So there is space in here for two 13-kilo propane bottles as a maximum. At the moment there is just the one 6-kilo, which is, more than enough gas to keep, get you going. This is a new pigtail hose, so you've got 2023 date on the hose there, so you've got till 28 to replace that, because you get 5 years on them. Looks to me like this is one of the lockers which can slide out. There you go. So just makes it a little bit easier for putting the bottles in when you need to. Just there, nice and easy. There you go. So yeah, like I said, we've got the 6-kilo propane bottle in here at the moment. To turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left, so that turns the bottle on. To turn the bottle off, we go clockwise around to the right. So you need to make sure that you switch this gas off before you start driving anywhere. It's really important that you do that. The security lock is just there, nice and neatly fitted. There is the key for that. Obviously, I can't do it at the moment to show you, but that's there. And we have also done it so that it will go straight across the handle, so that you won't be able to pull the handle open to get in the door. So you've got a nice strong catch there to hold the door open, so that's not going to sort of fall back in on you on the wind or anything like that. So that's what that is. These two vents just here are for your fridge, so if you ever need to get to the gubbins to the back of the fridge, you can just get to them from the back of those vents. You've got locker in here, really just for storage, but it does go all the way through to the other side, and your awning winder is just inside there. Back of the vehicle, you've got a ladder to get up onto the roof, and your fresh and waste drain off points. So if you ever need to drain off the fresh or the waste water, you go to these just here. So a little bit dark around this side, so hopefully you can see okay, but this is the toilet cassette locker here. So to release the actual cassette itself, lift up on the little yellow tab, and the entire cassette will come out. Once you've got the cassette out, all you need to know really is that you drain it out from here. So you swivel this around, then drain it out from this cap. Your blue fluid goes back inside here, to actually go back in, and you know, that's the blue fluid for breaking things down. And when you're actually emptying it out, you should hold the little yellow button down there as a pressure relief. Lock it back in, push it all the way in, and that's that completely locked up and back in position. The only other thing you need to know is this locker just here is your your flush fluid. So if your flush fluid starts to run out and you can't flush the toilet anymore, pre-mixed pink fluid goes inside there. This locker at the back here, not much to really show you, to be honest, but I just thought I'd open it up so you can see. Carpeted in there, all the way across the back. This is your freshwater inlet point, and so fresh water goes in there, and then that gives you access to using the water in the boiler and all the taps. I've got the hookup cable plugged into the vehicle. On the habitation check, I did have to replace the hookup because the front flap was completely smashed, so you got a brand new hookup point on there, which is nice. So that's that there. Hookup point means that you can basically use anything that runs from the 240 volt, so the mains points, basically your household sockets, are all run from that point just there. And also when you plug that in, your leisure battery will be being charged up. This vent just here is for the boiler, so just be careful on that when you've got the boiler running. It will be hot, and you need to make sure that you take this little cover off here before you start lighting it up. And the furthest to the front locker, again carpeted in there, not all the way through, but there is carpet in there, and once again just storage, but absolutely loads of storage because it's double skinned. So in the cab itself, if I just jump in, like I said, based on a 3 litre, so you have got the 6-speed manual gearbox, which is really nice to have. The 5-speed is great, but you know, if you're doing sort of long distance motorway driving, having that 6th gear makes a huge difference. Hazard lights, lock and unlock the cab from inside, which is a really good help as well. Air conditioning, so the aircon switch is just there, and the rest of it is all just standard Peugeot stuff, or Fiat stuff, sorry. So you've got the standard original fitted single DIN head unit, you've got your electric adjusting mirrors, lights are on this left hand stalk just here, and your washers and wipers are on the right. You've also got fully working reversing cameras, so that when you put the gear stick into reverse, the reversing camera will come on and start working by itself, which is a really nice clear picture. Also use it to get into the garage here, which is quite a tight gap, and it does work really well. So that is the cab. So I'm just going to jump out. It's a bit tight around here at the moment. Go around the front. So I'll just have a little look, see if there's another. You might find, I mean, I can't see one just on the video here, but you might find that you'll find, you might not, but you might find another chassis plate somewhere, one that's actually marked up with Lunar. And if you do, then that's the one that you need to go off. But if you don't find another one, the one on the bonnet is fine. It's just that sometimes they uprate the chassis and things like that, so just bear that in mind. So you've got the nice overcab bed there. There are another set of lights. There's 3 lights just up under there where you can see the kind of the shape flattens off. There's a switch just over there for those 3 there. The main light up there, to be honest with you, is bright enough in my opinion, so that's why I've just left that one on. But there is also a bit of storage at the back there, so if you ever need to get those lights on, it's a switch over on the left. There's a little bit here to stop you falling out of bed after a couple of drinks probably. Hooks in with these little clips up here. And the ladder itself, you can do whatever you like with the ladder, but in my opinion it's just easier just to throw it up here. If you put it up here and turn it around, it doesn't actually come out because it's too long for this gap, so it won't fall out on you when you're driving or anything. So that's that. In fact, I'll just do that now so you can see. So when you go up, turn it around and then just pull it back, you can see there it's wide enough to not fall out, so you can just leave it there. So nice layout in here. Don't mind my little cleaning bits just there, but absolutely loads of paperwork. well, you know, this box is completely full. So loads and loads of paperwork for the vehicle. I am going to put the carpets down in a minute, but there you go. So the habitation check has been done. You've got the lower lockers underneath all of the main lockers, so it gives you additional storage. Not much to show in these front covers, I don't think. No, okay. So the only things I've done on the habitation check really is the tap here was leaking, so this is a brand new tap. A couple of light bulbs, but nothing major, to be honest with you. It's all, you know, very, very good. So we'll start just over here with the control panel. So the control panel is a Sargent system, and you've got a Sargent power supply unit as well, so it all ties in really nicely. You've got a main on and off switch up here on the top left. At the moment I can see that this is actually on because I've got in here, it comes up here, so this is actually on at the moment. If I flick through here by pressing up, go past these ones, these are a bit irrelevant really. Set the clock timer if you want, you don't need that one. So pump select, the only reason you would ever need to change that from internal, because all the time that it says internal on it, it means that the actual water pump, the fresh water pump that pumps the water to the taps and the boiler and things like that, is the one that it's sending power to. The only time you would ever need to change that is if you had a 12-volt pump to fill the water up from outside with the little 12-volt socket that's next to the fresh water inlet. If you want power at that 12-volt socket next to the water inlet, you need to change it to external. You can have it on both as well normally, but for the most part you're going to want to leave it on internal. And like I said, that'll allow you then to draw the water through the taps. So we've got really good pressure in this van. And there you go. So that's that one. Carry on flicking through. So we've got the wastewater level, and that's completely empty. Freshwater level, quarter of a tank. Vehicle battery voltage, 12.1, that's perfect. And the leisure battery voltage, 13.3, which is very good actually, because we've got the electric hookup cable plugged in. Having the electric hookup plugged in and having this little red light on here means that the charger is working and the leisure battery is being charged up as we speak. Okay, so that's that. On here it tells you the internal temperature, which to be honest with you I think is probably slightly wrong, although it's probably quite close, and the EC200, which is the name of this system. Next door to that you've got these 4 switches. So you, like I said, you've got the power on and off switch, the water pump switch, auxiliary power, which could be for any additional 12-volt things. So if if I was you, I would just come in and turn the aux switch on straight away, just in case something's powered up by that switch. And this little switch here, which you don't really need to press for any reason ever. I'll tell you what it does. It basically switches the power that you're drawing power from. So at the moment I've got all these lights on. I've got the, I could have the fridge lit up on gas. I could have all sorts of things working on 12-volt from the leisure battery. As soon as I press this button just here, it switches that battery from leisure to engine. So all of the lights would stay on, but they would be drawing power from the engine battery instead, which for obvious reasons you don't want to do, because as soon as you go to start the engine up, it'll be flat. All right. The only reason that's actually there, the reason they put it there, is that if your engine battery's gone flat and you want to charge it up via the electric hookup, you can switch over and the hookup that you've got plugged in will actually start charging the engine battery instead. All right, so that's the only reason that button's there. You don't need to use that for any reason apart from if you wanted to charge your engine battery up for a little bit via the electric hookup. So I'll leave this all as it is at the moment, because I can go through and show you some bits afterwards like it is. You've got a main socket just here, 12-volt socket there, and an aerial point there. So really, when Lunar were making this vehicle, they were thinking your TV's probably going to go here or on here, and that's why they're giving you these points just there. Teleco, so that is your aerial on the roof. So turning that on and off, basically just got this switch just here. Ooh, there you go. Now it will just go through and find the satellite for you. I'm actually going to turn that off because we're inside I'm just thinking about that when I was doing it. Because we're inside and the wood is quite low in the lights, I'm not actually going to get that to go up. But it is as easy as I just showed you there. Turn it on with the little red button there, and then it will just basically flick through and find Astra 2 probably, and lock on for you. In the cupboard itself, you've got the original tilt and turn aerial and its booster just there. I should imagine that the booster needs to be on for you to get a decent signal, even with this here. It's just a signal booster, which is that one there with the red light on. At the back here, you got this switch which says aircon isolator. So if I turn that on now, red light comes on, and straight away the orange light comes up on the actual aircon unit. Once you've turned that on and you've got the orange light on the aircon unit, you can then take this controller from over there and turn it on. And you can probably hear it's already blowing out nice cool air. So pretty quickly it cools down. Obviously the hotter it is outside, the longer it will take to cool down, but it doesn't take long. If you open up this little flap here, it gives you the sort of like a little a key so that you can work out what's happening on the actual little screen there. At the top you've got a little ice symbol at the moment, so if we look at that, that'll give us cool air, and we've got there at 16 degrees. So at the moment, because it's actually warmer than 16 degrees in here, this is actually going to be working as an aircon unit and giving us cooler air. So that is literally all you have to do to get this aircon unit to work. Set your temperature, change your icon. That's it. It can't really get much easier than that, in my opinion. But there you go. So we'll turn it off. Or amber light comes back on, which means it's off, but there is power to it. And then we can come back in here and switch that off. And the light's gone off. There you go. So that's the aircon unit fully working. Right. So, like I said, it's a Sargent system. So this is your power supply unit here. It's an EC200 system. And essentially all this is anything that has 12 volt power or 240 volt power comes to here, and then essentially the hookup cable has a wire going straight to this, and the leisure battery and engine battery have a wire going straight to this. When that power goes to this, it then gets split off via the little fuses there to all the different places in the van that it needs it. So if I just get down so I can show you properly. All the time that little red light is on there is telling us that the hookup's working and the charger is on. All right, so that's good. You've then got this little sort of sheet here telling us exactly what's doing what. So the 8 up here that you can see, these 2 boxes here, are corresponding with the 8 fuses down here. So this is DC fuses, that means 12 volt fuses. So like I said to you, it tells you exactly what one does what. So if, for example, I came in the vehicle earlier on today and went to put all the lights on and nothing was working, the first thing I would do is come in here, have a little look. Depending on which lights it was, if it was the front lights that weren't working, I'd have a little look in there, see front lights is the fuse number 1, and it should be a 15 amp blue fuse. I can take the little cover off, which is a little bit awkward sometimes. Take the cover off, and I can see there, it is a blue 15 amp fuse, and I would have to just take it out and have a little look to see if it's okay. So just having that sort of little sheet there telling you what they do means that you can, really quite easily fault find for yourself. On the right hand side, we've got your RCD and MCBs. So the RCD is the main trip switch just here, which actually has its own trip switch tester on it, which is that little bit there. You've also got another little bit down here, which tells us the MCB allocation. So just like the fuses have got their own allocation, these 3 MCB trip switches have also got their own ones. So they've got socket outlets, hob if fitted, which it has. And so you can go through it. Same again, if you can't get something mains powered working, have a little look in there and have a look at the corresponding MCB. These 2 switches over here, somebody has quite helpfully written on the top there, so it doesn't, to be honest with you, the one on the left is correct, but the one on the right isn't exactly right. But so ultra heat is the one that's on the left hand side. That's what it says at the top just here. So ultra heat is this heating system just here. This is a Truma ultra heat. Okay, so if you wanted to use the Ultra Heat on electric, so if you wanted to use it on your mains electric, you can press this little switch on here, and then that'll give you access to using the electric dial, which I'll show you later on. So this one here isn't doing anything at all until we go over and select 500, 1000 or 2000 watts over above the door or wherever it is, which I'll show you in just a minute. If your boiler's already full of water and you've already gone through the little checklist, which I'll show you in just a second, you can also heat the water up via the electric element as well. So it is the hot water system, that is correct, but it's not on gas. All right, this is just the mains. This is the mains element inside the boiler. So if this red light is on here on this right hand switch, the water inside the boiler will be heating up via the electric element, and so you need to make sure there's water in the boiler before you do that. But that's that. So you need to make sure that these are both off really whenever you're not using them. For example, if the boiler wasn't full of water and this was accidentally left on with the hookup plugged in, you're going to run into some issues of overheating and things like that. So make sure that these are left off until you know you want to use them. All right, so that is that in there. So on that same point about the Ultra Heat thing, if you turn the Ultra Heat switch on in that cupboard there, where's the dials? They're over here. Right, so assuming you've turned the Ultra Heat dials on, Ultra Heat switch on, sorry. So I'll do that now. Left hand switch on. As long as you have the hookup plugged in, you can then come over to this little pair of dials here, have a look at the bottom one, which says Ultra Heat on it as well, and you can then switch between 500, 1000 or 2000 watts. All right, so if I leave it on 1000 for a minute, basically what's happening now is there's three little elements in the back of this heater here basically, and I've selected 1000 watts. So 1000 watt element is now heating up in the back of this heater and giving us hot air basically. So that's how you use the heating on electric. I turn that back to 0, that turns it off, and then a good practice, I would come in the wardrobe here and switch it off. So that's how you use the heating on gas. Like I said to you, the switch next door to that is the electric for the boiler. So as soon as you turn that on, the boiler will be immediately trying to heat the water up. The other way to use the hot water is via the gas. So the gas on the hot water on the gas is this one here that says Ultra Store on it at the top. So as long as you've got the cover off the boiler on the outside, which I showed you, you can turn this dial once to the right. It'll give us a little green light, and the boiler will light up on gas. After about half an hour, 40 minutes or so, you'll have nice hot water at the boiler. So that is that, easy as that. So you've got another 240 volt socket just there, and the cooker system, which I'll show you in just a minute, but I just want to run you through the heating on the gas first. So whether you're using the heating on gas or electric, which I'll show you how to use it on gas in just a minute, but whatever way you're actually heating this thing up, you've also got blown air heating. So like I said, no matter what way you're actually heating it up, if you push this little dial to the left here, you can select your number, and then any little circular vent that might be around the vehicle, they will be all over the place, but I can't see one just here. Any of those little circular vents will now be having hot air pumping around to it. All right, so this is the blown air version. So you can use the blown air heating just like that. If you want to heat it up via the gas, obviously assuming your gas is switched on, all you have to do is turn this little dial, if I use the other hand actually, turn the little dial around to sort of 2 or 3 like that. If you have a little look in this hole here, if I get it in the right position, just about, there you go, you can just about see, oh, you can't really, basically as soon as you start turning it around to there to sort of 2 or 3, the little igniter inside there starts flashing. So that's on now. All I'm going to do now is push this down, still on 2 or 3. So straight away the flame's lit up, the pilot flame, which is the main flame on the right hand side there. So I'll just hold this down for a few seconds just to let it warm up. Once you've let that warm up just for a sec, you can then turn it around, lift it up and turn it around to kind of sort of 7 or 8. So we'll do that now. So if you watch what happens when I turn it around to 7 or 8. Main flame kicked in, which is the one on the left. And just keep your eye on that. If it starts to go out, which this one isn't at the moment, that's going to carry on now. But if it does start to go out, all you need to do is just push back down again, leave it to warm up a little bit longer on the pilot flame and let go. And just do it as many times. If it's really cold outside, sometimes it can take sort of 3 or 4 attempts to actually get it to stay on. But as you can see at the moment, the flame is on and working perfectly. The more you use this, because obviously, you know, our motorhomes sit here on the site for a couple of weeks, or, you know, even months sometimes. The longer you leave this without using it on gas, the more orange that flame will go. So the more that you start using this now, you know, the cleaner and more blue that flame will go. But it's just a use thing. So that's that. That's how you use it on the gas. So now that I've lit this up on gas, which is the most common way of using it really, I personally would go over here, turn the button on there, and after sort of 5 or 10 minutes or so, this van will be nice and warm. All right. So I'm going to turn it off now just by going all the way back round to 0. Having a little look in there, make sure the flame's gone out, which it has. And that's it. So, I hope that makes sense. So the cooker, being a British built vehicle, they tend to have the electric hob ring there as well as the gas burners. So again, assuming you've got the hookup plugged in like I do at the moment, you can turn this little dial here. It goes 1 to 6 from left round to right, and when you turn it on and it's working, you have a little red light on there telling you it's on. So that's the hot ring at the back just there. If you want to use one of the 3 gas rings, you've got an ignition switch and a corresponding dial. So bottom left, bottom right, top right. I don't need to show you how to light those up because it's just like any household cooker. Same ignition switch for the grill there as well. The grill is this dial just here, and the oven is the one on the furthest right hand side there. Same ignition switch. So I have had to fit a little catch just here, and I'll just explain why. Where they fitted, if I just show you, sorry, one sec. Where they have fitted this roller catch here. So basically what I did was, this was loose and it wasn't sort of fixed on properly. So I glued it back on, I made sure it was nice and strong, fitted a new one of these as well. But basically where the screws go up underneath here is completely silly. It means that you can't, this doesn't end up working. It didn't matter, I was here for absolutely ages trying to get this to work, but I just could not get it to do anything at all. So in the end, I went for just making a little tiny piece of wood up to space this out, and I fitted a nice little roller catch like that. So it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna come open when you're driving. It's a nice and secure one. But I don't know exactly why that wasn't working, but I just could not get it to work at all. So hopefully that's going to be okay for you. Next to that, we've got the table. There's a nice standalone table in there, full sized. Right, so behind me is the fridge. So it's the stack style fridge, which is the biggest one that they make. So you've got a freezer compartment at the top here. So that is nice and cold. I've had it on for about half an hour. And like I said, that's already nice and cold in there. I've had it on gas, as you can see by the little amber symbol in there. So if I just turn it off and show you how to use it on all 3 functions. So if I run you through them, you've got gas at the top, mains electric, and 12 volt. So the gas you can use at any time, assuming you've got the control panel switched on and the gas turned on in the locker there. So all you have to do to light it up on gas is turn it once to the right, and straight away that lights up. If this little amber light here starts flashing at you and just stays flashing and doesn't turn off, just switch it off, leave it for a few seconds and try it again. All right. As long as it's a solid amber symbol like that, it means the gas is on and working. If you have the electric hookup plugged in, you can go 2 down, and that'll give you a nice green light there telling you that the electric element in the back of the fridge now is cooling the fridge down. So the electric element here and the gas are the only 2 ways that this fridge will get cold by itself. So you need to pre-cool the fridge for 3 or 4 hours or so with all your stuff in it before you leave to, you know, go on holiday or wherever you're going to go. When you start the engine up to start driving is when you go down to the bottom one here, which is your 12 volt. So as soon as you start the engine up, you'll be able to use it on the 12 volt. So like I said, the reason you have to cool it down before you leave is because the 12 volt only really holds the temperature. It doesn't really give you, you know, it doesn't cool the fridge down as such. It just keeps it cold. And like I said, that's what you need to use when your engine's running. So if I just quickly explain something, all decent motorhome brands like Lunar, any other, you know, proper brands like the ones we've got here, have got what's called a split relay or a split charger. So essentially what a split relay is, under the bonnet you've got the alternator, like any car or van does, and when you start the engine up, the alternator charges the engine battery. But when it's a proper motorhome conversion, you've got the split charger, which basically splits that power that goes from the alternator to the engine battery, splits it off and sends it all the way back to the leisure battery and to the fridge. So that all the time your engine's running, essentially your alternator can be cooling the fridge down or keeping it cold on the 12 volt. And it also means that when you get to wherever you're going, the leisure battery will have a really good charge in it because it's been charging the whole time you've been driving. So that's how that works. That's the reason that works like that. Okay, so that's the fridge. So if you want to use the boiler and you want to get the water hot and things like that, I feel like I'm going in a bit of a random kind of order with all this, but anyway, if you want to heat the water up, you want to get the water hot in the boiler and get hot water at the taps, the first thing you need to do is turn your pump switch on here and just come over to the tap over here and make sure that you've got good pressure and no sort of air in the system. So the only way to do it, and it's so easy, but it is the only way to do it, is just come over here, pull the tap on the cold side. So there's no air in that, that's absolutely lovely. Turn it around to the hot. Same again, absolutely no air in that at all. You can turn it off, make sure you hear the pump turn itself off, which it has just done there. And that's it. That means that the boiler's full of water and there's no air in the system. That's absolutely fine. I can now go ahead and light the boiler up and do whatever I want to do. All right. If I came to the tap just then and lifted it up on the hot side and absolutely nothing came through and it started sort of coughing and spluttering, all that means is nothing to worry about, but all it means is you've either not got enough water in the fresh tank, which you can check on the control panel like I showed you, or the boiler isn't quite full of water yet. Now sometimes even just using the boiler, getting the water hot and using it, sometimes that can just really get a little bit of air in the system where it expands and contracts. All right, but that's all you need to do. Just make sure that there's water at the tap there on hot and cold, and you can go ahead and light the boiler up, do whatever you want. On that same subject of the boiler, down here in this big cupboard here, so you've got absolute stacks of storage in there. I mean, these little things come out as well, which is quite nice. Loads of storage. The only thing I need to show you, if I just lay down, so just down there at the back, you can probably just about see, you've got a little yellow tab. I don't know if it's actually focusing on it or not. So there you go. The little yellow tab that you can see down there, you can see it's laying flat at the moment. When it's laying flat like that, that means that any water that gets sent to the boiler by doing what I've just shown you there, basically, by pulling the hot tap up, any water that goes to the boiler will stay inside of it, okay? If you lifted that little yellow tab upright so it was vertical, all the water that was inside the boiler and in that pipe just there would drain out straight onto the floor. And the only reason you would ever need to drain it out onto the floor like that is if it's going to get to the, you know, really, really cold temperature in winter and you are worried about the water freezing up inside. If the water does freeze up inside of the boiler, essentially what will happen is it'll expand as it freezes and crack every pipe in sight, and you have various leaks, which is a bit of a pain, to be honest. So you don't really want that to happen. A lot of the newer vans have got an automatic dropout valve, which is fine until it drops out when it doesn't need to, and you know, then you sort of run into problems where you can't fill the boiler up. So in my opinion, these manual ones are a lot better. But there you go, it's in its closed position at the moment, so you can leave it exactly as it is as we speak. But if you ever wanted to drain the boiler out, just do it like I said, just there, lift it up, right? Okay, so just see if there's anything else. All right, the bathroom at the back. So really nice layout in this van. I know you've seen it already, but really nice having the bathroom at the back here. As I showed you on purchase, you've got the little magnetic strip there, which actually locks onto that. So you have kind of got like a bathroom at the back there, and small wardrobe in there, but still quite a lot of storage. Really nice size shower in here. Drain at the bottom there, so it will all drain out nicely there. You have got this little bit here which will stop this from moving when you're driving. So yeah, that's that. The sink, I will be honest, the sink has been repaired at some point. It's been repaired quite well, but the reason you've got this kind of overflapping rubber bit is because to repair it, because these do get quite brittle, if I'm honest with you. But to repair it in the past, they basically just drilled a slightly bigger hole and put a bigger drain into it. But I just thought I'd show you that. That's why that is there. It has been repaired, but it's been repaired quite well, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about. Same sort of hot and cold mixer tap, just like is in the front. There's a little cover for the screw there, actually. Oh, I'll glue that back on. Right, so the last bit is the toilet. So the toilet is nice and easy to use. It's one of the newer style Thetford toilet systems. So essentially all you've got is a bowl and a flap. So to release the flap and open it up into the cassette, you just do what I've just done there by pulling that over to the right, and you can see there it basically just moves over a flap to allow whatever's in the bowl to go into the cassette. And you've got the big blue button at the back there, which will pump around your nice pink flush fluid. And that is that. Doesn't get much easier than that. So I think I've pretty well shown you everything I can. I'll make sure that satellite dish is all the way down before I drive it out, obviously. So there are various places. I mean, you've got a TV in here, so that'll come out nicely. You have also got space in here for a microwave or something if you want to, and you have got a socket up there. So if you wanted to fit one of those, you can do. But there you go. So I think I've pretty well shown you everything I can. If there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.